Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Frank McNally from Public Spend Forum. We appreciate you joining for the next in our series of eProcurement demo days presented in partnership with NIGP. Our topic today is value as a service for the public sector, and we've got a great presentation and demonstration from Coupa. I'm going to let them just introduce themselves while I kind of get through the early parts of this slide series. So, our demo days are all about education. We want people to discover leading practices in procurement that can improve outcomes for you and your customers. And we do that by surveying the emerging technology landscape, reviewing how tools can be leveraged to improve your performance, both individually and at your organization. And hopefully then that will allow you to determine how other organizations and professionals are tackling procurement challenges, which we sort of elicit through real case studies. And we've got a really good one today from our speakers, Andy Millay and Jonathan Angris. I guess it makes sense to have you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves real quickly before I pass it over. So Andy, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. This is Andy Millay. I'm the Vice President for our public sector for Coupa Software, based out of the Washington, D.C. area.
And hi, everybody. Jonathan Angris, Senior Value Solutions Consultant with Coupa Software, and I'm based out of New Jersey.
Fantastic. Thank you to you both for being here. Real quick about Public Spend Forum. We are a market intelligence and best practices platform for the public sector, both buyers and suppliers. And through our market intelligence and best practices platform, we provide our stakeholders with supplier and market knowledge and data, best practices, frameworks and standards, tools, information, which we usually deliver through our How to Buy and How to Improve webinar series. And then also a global community and network of peers and experts in public procurement, which you can find at publicspendforum.net. It is free to join our community. We encourage it. We have a lot of communications and discussions and excellent content on publicspendforum.net that we invite you to check out. We're also really excited about a tool that we launched over the summer called GovShop. GovShop is a single place to search, find, and connect with suppliers. I call it a Google for public sector market research because it consists of government contractors that only sell to government. I guess that sounds a little bit redundant, but I recall as a junior contracting professional in the government doing Google searches, finding nice companies, only to find out that those companies didn't want to sell or do business with government. GovShop sort of solves that. It is easy to use and free for everyone. It's browser-based, so there's really no software to download or licenses to buy. Like I said, we did build it for the government with unique filters like socioeconomic categories and small business listings to make it really easy and specific for public sector buyers. All of our supplier profiles are relatively comprehensive. We hear quite often how the information in one supplier profile used to be only contained in 2 or 3 different sites. So we're trying to streamline that market research for you and also allow you to search by keyword, category code, or contract. So check out govshop.com next time you want to do some effective market research, and please let us know what you think about it. We'd love to hear from you. I want to do a few housekeeping notes before I turn it over. We would love to hear from you, your questions for Andy and Jonathan. They're in your Zoom profile there, your Zoom screen. At the bottom, there is a toolbar where you'll see the chat and you'll see Q&A. Those are both effective channels to ask questions. I'll be moderating that chat and that Q&A. So if you have a relevant question, please go ahead and type it in there, and I'll make sure we get it to our speakers. So that's all from me. Thank you for joining again. And Andy, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you.
Thanks, Frank, for passing along, and welcome everyone to Coupa Software's Value as a Service presentation. I really appreciate your attendance here. So as we mentioned earlier, I'm the Vice President for Coupa Software's public sector practice, and joining me is Jonathan Angris, who will provide our solution demonstration today. We're going to kick things off with a short presentation of Coupa and why we believe we provide value as a service and not just software as a service. We're going to follow up this short slide presentation where Jonathan is going to work to show as much of our comprehensive solution as possible within the hour we have together here. So with that, let me get things going here. In the world of public sector, there's 3 key drivers. And most of the people in attendance here, I don't need to tell you this, you probably know that, but basically there's the need for visibility into what's being spent and with whom, the need to be fully compliant with all processes, procedures, and regulations, and probably more importantly, the need to optimize operations to meet demands for speed and accuracy. So what if you had a solution that could easily handle these? You could drive complete visibility through rapid and thorough adoption. You'd have the ability to be fully compliant, yet still be able to perform smart and flexible spending, and then begin to optimize rapidly growing community intelligence to learn from each other about how we can collectively drive more and more value. Management means going from silos of spend to synergies of spend by having complete visibility, compliance, and control. And many of us are already doing that today, but we intend to identify and demonstrate how to achieve quantifiable value from your procurement environment with our demonstration and presentation. So Coupa Software, we took some liberties with our name to put together kind of our approach to the marketplace. So if you look at Coupa, basically we provide a comprehensive, open, user-centric, prescriptive, and accelerated solution. Our vision is to deliver a unified business spend management platform that empowers you to spend smarter and maximize the value of each dollar spent. Now let's take a look at each of these areas. So the first one, C, comprehensive. Our business spend management solution is modern, cloud-based, and highly scalable. And when we designed our system, we focused at first on you, the user. Then we went ahead and we built comprehensive transactional capabilities for the core functions of procurement, invoicing, payments, and expense management around that user. From there, we included our specialized capabilities around spend analysis, strategic sourcing, contract management, supplier management, and contingent workforce management. The suite of applications is our powerful business spend management platform, providing a common user interface, business model, and data model. The foundation of the platform is Coupa's large and growing community. In the past several months alone, we've had more than 100 new customers go live with Coupa. To date, we have measured and validated more than $26 billion in savings for our customers. We have a growing network of more than 4 million suppliers who are part of our Coupa Advantage marketplace. On the O side, for our open solution, we are open and we make it easy to integrate with your current ERP solution, such as Oracle, SAP, PeopleSoft, Workday, or others. We also provide the means for rapid supplier onboarding. We make it easy for you and we make it easy for your vendors and suppliers. All this leads to widespread adoption by your entire organization, as every user has everything they need to spend smarter in an easy to use modern solution. The U of Coupa, user-centric. We believe in being user-centric. As I mentioned earlier, we really built our system around users first. So our vision is really based on a very simple principle. The best user interface is really no user interface. What that means is the less user interaction that we have, the better. And we help to reduce that human interaction with automation. This is one of the reasons we see unprecedented user adoption rates with our customers. We deliver a system that people want to use, where they can learn once and use everywhere. And you can see from the slide here, we have our user interface really is designed for each of the media here, whether it be desktop, laptop, or mobile phones. On the P side, prescriptive. This is actually one of the most exciting areas of our vision. It's prescriptive insights. This is where we leverage the collective intelligence of nearly 1 trillion transactions a year, both procurement transactions and supplier interactions. And we use machine learning to process every one of those transactions and provide prescriptive insights to maximize the value for every dollar you spend. I believe we'll see some of that in the demonstration today. How does that work? We basically listen to all the information that's coming through our system. And we basically then take that using our machine language and artificial intelligence to put together what that means for our users. And then we turn that information into prescriptive information and prescribe instant solutions to that community. The A, accelerated. On the left side of the screen there, you see that's actually a screenshot from a book that our CEO wrote called Value as a Service. But one of the key components of our Value as a Service is the ability to get that value quickly. So the core to everything we do is to uphold our commitment to driving the value as a service at every stage of our journey together and to driving that value rapidly. What we do is we set the stage early in the process by identifying the potential value that needs to be achieved. Then we work to implement the right solution to achieve that value. And at the end, we finally measure that value and ensure your organization is reaching its maximum potential with Coupa. Our average go live time for all of our implementations is roughly 4 to 8 months. However, we do have some implementations that have gone live in just several weeks, not months. We do most of our implementations through our certified implementation consultants and our partners, of which we have nearly 1,700 of those now. As I mentioned earlier, the combined savings for that community of users is growing, but stands at about $26 billion today. So at Coupa, we believe that if we focus on the core values, our core values of ensuring customer success, focusing on results, and striving for excellence, good things are going to happen for us. And they have, as evidenced by these industry analyst reports that are on the slide. So if you look at this, you'll see that Coupa is in the upper right-hand corner of each one of these. Spend Matters lists us as the highest organization with analyst scores. Gartner lists us as the highest in completeness of vision, and IDC lists us as the highest in the current offering completeness. And lastly, just touch base on what our vision is. I mentioned Coupa and the breakdown, the COUPA. That's really our vision, to deliver you the most comprehensive, open, user-centric, prescriptive, and accelerated procurement experience possible. You can see in the slide, we've got a large number of customers that are very well known to everybody. And all throughout our process with them, we're really driven to ensure that they receive maximum value and that this happens in a rapid fashion. I would suggest to people that you can take a look at our website. We have a number of customer testimonials out there that show the value that has been achieved by our customers and the success we've brought to them. So with that, I am now going to turn it over to Jonathan for the demonstration. And again, thank you for your attendance and thank you for being part of this webinar. Jonathan.
Great. Thank you, Andy. And hi, everybody. Again, Jonathan Angris here. Right now, I'm going to take you right into the Coupa platform. As you can see here, we have a login screen, and I'm going to play a variety of different roles throughout today's session. I'm going to start off with a user named Sam Gold, and Sam is just an everyday requisitioner. And I want to log in and show you how easy it is to find and buy within our platform. So I'm going to log in, and right away here, we can see within the Coupa window, immediately a little super bar that is asking the simple question, what do you need? And this is a great way for a user to feel comfortable with a platform because it's very similar to that Amazon-like user experience, very efficient, requires hardly any training at all, very intuitive. So right from here, as a user, I can simply type in exactly what I'm looking for. And if I type in, let's say, copy paper, we're going to be, let's say, ordering copy paper for our office or our group of offices. We can easily do that right from here. So Coupa is going to return a listing of all of the items that are contracted or, let's say, cataloged as well within your organization's relationship with suppliers and vendors and so on. So right here, I can see some of the items that may be tied to what I'm looking for. We can see here that this copy paper is tied to Office Depot, who happens to be a Coupa Advantage supplier. And as we know, Coupa Advantage is a program, a free program that we offer to all of our customers so that they can take advantage of pre-negotiated spend discounts and so on. But right from here, I'm going to immediately go into it and say that we need about 10 cases of this copy paper from Office Depot. And right from here, we can review the cart. So Coupa will take me directly into the shopping cart, again, very much like a typical e-commerce platform like Amazon and so on. Right here, we can see all of the relevant information tied to who I am as the user, as the requisitioner, as well as the ship to information tied to who I am. And then, of course, in the middle of the screen, you've got your cart items. And as we can see, I have about 10 boxes of this copy paper that I'm looking for. We can also tie the commodity to it. Your payment terms would be coming over with from your supplier relationship. If it's on contract, you would see that there. And then we also have on the right-hand side, the chart of accounts. So we can bring in your organization's chart of accounts structure, as well as the budgeting structure and the budget lines so that you've got full visibility into that right here within Coupa. In fact, if I had the appropriate permissions, I can go ahead and change this as well to possibly a different chart of accounts. And on the right-hand side, you've got the visibility into the budget. So we can see that of a total budget for this commodity, we have $500,000. 22,000 and change has been approved already. And in this line item, we've got about $381 with a remaining budget of $477,000. So great visibility, not only right here in the cart, but also in other areas within Coupa. And because of the amount of this requisition, I will not require an approval process. I can do a self-approval on this because for this user, Sam Gold, he's got a self-approval up to about $400. As we can see, it's a little bit shy of that in this case. So I'm going to simply edit this. And we'll see that if I increase the quantity here, maybe we need 15 cases instead of 10. Well, because of his approval hierarchical threshold limitation, if you will, that will have to go to Mary Snow, who happens to be his supervisor. And Mary may have her own threshold, dollar amount, and so on, so that if this was over her approval threshold, it would go to the next person in the chain. So your organizations can set up these approval chains based on dollar thresholds and amounts, as well as commodities, as well as other criteria. So in this example, I'm simply going to go ahead and submit this for approval. And it's going to go directly to Mary into her queue so that she can either approve it or reject it. And we'll see back in my recent activity that we have submitted this requisition 6988. Now, Coupa is more than just a platform for procuring goods and items. We also have a great amount of spend running through our platform. For example, of the $840 billion that's running through Coupa today, I'd say about 75% of that is actually tied to services. So within Coupa, we can easily support that, and I want to show you that next. Well, one thing we can do is simply just type in the service that we need. Let's say at this office, we need some type of HVAC tune-up, right? Maybe it's the beginning of summer, or it's the beginning of winter, and we want the appropriate vendor to come into our office and make sure everything's running properly. So I can simply search for that. And within Coupa, you can set up all different types of web forms that would guide your users to the right type of procurement process. So all I have to do as a user here is enter in this request. And we can see here that it's asking me, is this for heating or cooling? Well, let's say it's for heating because we know that the winter is coming. And you can fill out these forms, or build these forms, I should say, and configure them within Coupa very easily without any IT intervention. This is something that a business team can do. You can ensure that you dictate which fields are required, and of course you can have all sorts of different custom fields as well. So I want to make sure that this HVAC occurs sometime, this tune-up occurs sometime between the 12th and the 15th of next month, or of this month, I should say. And I can easily just press that save button. We can already see it within the cart. And we can even see that it's tied to a default supplier. So that web form could be tied to a particular supplier or vendor that provides that service. So again, one of the great values of Coupa is the guided buying, so that the user doesn't have to make too many decisions. And right from here, because it's a self-approval of $400 for Sam, we can have this approved automatically. Now, there's also other capabilities within our platform to buy. In fact, there's many other capabilities. For example, instead of searching for an item or a service, we also have browsing capabilities. For example, you have this choose option here where you can choose between the different commodities. So you can set different policies for different types of commodities. And for example, if I choose marketing, let's say we need some type of marketing service, we can have line items listed here that we can add to the cart, or any other types of web forms, such as this marketing service request, website design, trade show event request. Again, all right here, very easy to see. Now, aside from the browse capability, we also have a free-form write capability. So a user can simply type in, let's say, I need some type of tax consulting, or whatever type of service it is that we're requesting. I can type that in, and I can simply look into the middle of the screen here. We may have the commodity already filled out. I may know or I may not know who the supplier is. If I don't know, when we submit this request, once it's in the cart, it could go to an internal group to ensure that we pick and choose a vendor or supplier. So there's different things that can occur here. So in this example, I'm not going to choose a supplier, and I'm going to say that I need some type of tax consulting starting in early December and going through, let's say, middle of December. I add that to the cart, and I'll just go ahead and I'm just moving too fast here. The service start date, due date has to be this time. We'll see here in the cart that the supplier is not there, and therefore it's going to go to buyer action. So there's a lot of great capabilities for the workflow to take place based off of different things that are filled out or not filled out.
Jonathan, a quick question on that. This is Frank. So we had an audience question from Norman. When the cart is submitted, how would the vendor get notified of the order request?
Right, yeah, so that's a great question. So once the cart is submitted, then it goes into that approval process. If it's automatically approved, then Coupa will automatically create a purchase order and push it out and up to that supplier or vendor. So of course, if it's running through an approval process and it goes from one person to the next, once it's finally approved, it's going to follow that same process. And we can distribute those purchase orders and service orders up to suppliers and vendors via CXML as well as via email. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Okay, moving on here. One other thing that I want to show you from an ordering perspective is something that a lot of our customers take advantage of, and that's called order lists. So for example, we don't want our users to have to order the same things over and over again and fill out a cart. All we have to do is teach you how to create an order list, such as this monthly janitorial supplies order list, where you can have all of these items and services in that listing already, so that all you have to do is pick and choose what the quantity would be, and then simply add that to the cart. So the order list is very, very powerful in helping our customers efficiently process those requisitions in a timely manner without having to duplicate their efforts. So what I'm going to do next is, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and switch roles. I'm going to pretend that I'm a user by the name of Mary. And if you remember from looking at that one request that was pending approval, if we drill into that, we can see that it's off to Mary's to-do list. So let's take a look at what Mary sees. So I'm going to switch roles, play Mary. And Mary has a few capabilities here. She can easily see her purchase requisition approvals on the right-hand side under the to-do list, among other things. Right from here, I can drill into it. I could reject it. I can approve it. But I can also do this in a mobile fashion. So if I go to my mobile view, and I'm just going to switch over to my iPad or my iPhone, you'll be able to see the Coupa app. Let me go ahead and choose that. All right, so now you should be able to see my Coupa app, which is on my, my mobile device, an iPad. And immediately I am logged into it. So if I'm on the road, if I'm at lunch, a business lunch, or maybe at the airport walking through the TSA line, business is not going to stop, because right here I can see my listing of items that are up for approval. So I may want to go ahead and take a look at that first one and see all of the relevant details. Okay, it looks like Sam had ordered copy paper today at 2:20 in the afternoon. Maybe I want to drill into that requisition a little bit deeper, see more about the accounting structure or the supplier. I can do all of that and approve it and or reject it right from here. So we have that great mobile capability, and it's not just for approvals, but it could also be to manage requisitions that are in place, as well as expense management. So within Coupa, you have the ease of use of the platform, but also not just in front of the GUI, the user interface, but also in a mobile device. So if I was at the airport and I want to take a picture of a receipt, or I want to go ahead and enter in a new report or drill into a draft report that I've been working on, I can easily go ahead and either take a picture of the receipt or create a voice recording right here. So for example, all I have to do is hit that green little button and say, breakfast at Starbucks for $12 yesterday.
Done listening.
And Coupa's going to go ahead and take that information and create an expense entry on that. And of course, it took everything I said, so it created a nice funny one right there. But I just wanted to show you that mobile capability. Now I'm just going to stop sharing from my iPad and go back to the main screen here. And now that we have gone ahead and approved it from a mobile perspective, that's no longer in my to-do list, but we have one from one of my previous requisition requests. That's still there. So I'll pause for a second to see if there were any questions. Frank?
No, not so far.
Okay, great.
Other than the one we answered.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So now I'm going to switch hats yet again, and I'm going to play the role of the supplier. And I think this will also help to answer the question from before about the PO distribution. So now that I'm the supplier, Office Depot, we can see here that I've just been emailed the purchase order. So Coupa can either send it to me via CXML, or they can send it to me as the supplier via email. And it's not just a matter of being able to see that purchase order, but we also have the capability to acknowledge the PO, meaning the supplier can acknowledge the PO back to the buyer. They can add a comment. They can even log into the Coupa supplier portal, but they can also flip this item into an invoice. So they can flip this purchase order right from here into an invoice. And that's what we call our supplier actionable notification. And that's highly efficient in allowing all of your suppliers in a free way to go ahead and interact with you and not have to worry about any special integrations from a purchase order to invoice perspective. It's as simple as having an email address, flipping it into the invoice, and we can submit it right from here. So I'm going to say 110718 because that's today's date. I'll give it an invoice number, and all of that relevant information from that purchase order, so long as we have delivered it, will be right here, and I can go ahead and submit it. And now it's going back downstream to the buyer. So that's one way that a supplier can interact with the buyers using Coupa. So it's all within one unified platform. But we also have another way, and that's the Coupa supplier portal that I mentioned before. So I'm going to bring that up. And again, we're still pretending that I'm the supplier. And if I have logged into the Coupa supplier portal, I'll be able to see the entire list of all of the orders that have been pushed up to me from that buyer. I'll also be able to manage the advanced shipping notices and my catalogs as well and maintain those. And then of course from here, I can see all of the invoices, and I can even create invoices on the fly if I need to, let's say non-PO backed invoices. So there's a lot of great capabilities that the supplier can have, and it's all free to the supplier, and that's why we have such great adoption, not only because of it being free, but because of the efficiency, the ease of use. And of course, at the end of the day, your suppliers are going to get paid quicker because they're interacting a lot easier. Now I'm going to switch roles yet again, and now I'm going to pretend that I'm somebody within the buying organization one more time. In fact, I'm going to pretend that I'm Jacob Smith. And Jacob is tied to the purchasing group, or let's say the buyer group. And Jacob can go ahead and go right to his sourcing view, but he can also see requisitions that have come in that may not have an actual supplier tied to him or tied to the request. So right from here, I can go ahead and assign a supplier if I know of one, or I can even use our functionality to initiate an RFX process, all right from here. So it's very synergistic, very unified with what's happening from the requisition area. But again, moving back to sourcing, We've got some great capabilities to help out with the initiation of an event. As I talked about just before, the requisition can initiate a sourcing event. But we also have opportunity triggers so that a sourcing user can easily see right here any special triggers or opportunities that are proactive, meaning it's telling me, Coupa's telling me that we have a contract that's expiring in X amount of days. Well, maybe I want to go ahead and renew it, or maybe I want to renegotiate it, or maybe I want to search for a different supplier or vendor and start the bidding process. Or perhaps you set up a policy that triggers a notification here, visibility into if a large requisition has occurred that's tied to some type of commodity. Again, that's all right here, and it's allowing us to be proactive and gain a lot of value in their proactivity. And then right from
Jonathan.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There was another question from Norman asking if there's a way to prevent the supplier from flipping the invoice before actual order delivery is received by the requester.
So if there's a way for the supplier, for us to prevent the supplier from flipping the invoice before the order is received from the requester? Is that the question?
That's the question.
Yeah, well, typically that order is not going to get to the supplier, but in terms of receiving, right? Let's say the purchase order has been established, it's been pushed up to the supplier, but they have not delivered it yet, or maybe it wasn't received yet in the system. We do have the goods receipt capability and functionality. So yes, there is a way for us to stop the AP process in its tracks to say, you know what? Maybe the invoice is coming through, but a goods receipt has not been established or a service entry sheet has not been established. In that case, we're going to push it back down to the requisitioner to make sure that he has signed off on the goods, that he's received them, that the services have been performed. So the quick answer is yes, we do have some pretty valuable capabilities around that process. And yes, we could also stop the invoice from moving into any stage if a receipt was not established.
Thank you.
Yep, I know that was a long-winded answer, so I apologize. But so anyway, you can create an event right here within Coupa. As like I was saying before, with RFXs, you can create them out of the blue, or you can use existing templates, or even copy existing events. And to give you an idea of what an event looks like within Coupa, right away, we have a whole listing of events right here. I'm going to drill into event number 413, which happens to be for, let's say, a parking lot project. And within this parking lot project, when we created the event, you may have had your logo there, maybe some terms and conditions that you want your suppliers and vendors to bid on, that are bidding on, you want them to agree to, and if not, they're not going to be allowed to bid. You can tie a whole event team of different people in different roles, evaluators, creators, watchers, all tied to that exact event and having those permissions. And then, of course, the event details, where you can ask them to, let's say, follow your guidelines for an SOW. And you can set up all sorts of different questionnaires for them to fill out, as well as list out the different services and goods that you're looking for, as well as your base prices. Then you can manage which suppliers you want to invite, and you can add them. You can delete certain suppliers. You can even look through other Coupa customer community suppliers and see if they would be helpful. And when those responses come in, they can be managed here in Coupa as well. And everything can be done via email notifications, but everything syncs right into these forms that we see here. You can award the supplier or different suppliers to different parts of that event. And then you can manage the responses with an evaluation criteria and determine who should be awarded based on different evaluation details. Now, once an event has been established and submitted for bids, and then responded to, and then evaluated, and then awarded, we also have, I should say, contract capability here, so that a contract can be created right off of this event. And when that contract is established, negotiated, authored, and pushed back and forth between the buyer and the supplier, once that's been agreed upon and signed off on, and we have integration with DocuSign and MS Word, here you can track how much spend is tied to this contract and the savings that were derived from that contract, and all sorts of other relevant information, such as the payment terms, maximum spend, effective date range, specific questions, options. These are all custom and configurable fields that you guys can add as you see fit.
Jonathan, I have a quick question. So is that where we could maybe create integrations for some of our other reporting systems? I know in the public sector, there's a lot of, integration work. Is that kind of where that would occur, or is that somewhere else in the platform?
Integrations to other reporting tools, you can actually do that throughout various places within Coupa. It wouldn't just be right here, but a lot of this data can be pushed outside of Coupa into reporting engines if you need it. And of course, data can come into our tool as well. But it would be across all of the solution. And since you mentioned reports, I want to finish off with our reporting capabilities. And I want to lead that part with insights. So there's some really cool things that we do here. This is one of the many things that sets us apart from other platform providers out there. And this is what we call prescriptive insights. And it starts with success metrics. And it's the ability for your groups, your organizations and customer profiles to set up different goals. Establish the value, right? What's your goal? What do you want to achieve from a savings perspective? Possibly from an efficiency perspective, even from a usage perspective, adoption, and so on. For example, let's say if we scroll up to savings, a lot of our customers want to make sure that the catalog rate by order count is at a certain percentage. Now, I've set my goal within, let's say, my company that's using Coupa to 85%. Now, I just started using Coupa, let's say a month ago, and so far we've climbed from 20% to 40% to 79%. I haven't quite hit my goal yet, but it's showing me the trend. But it's also allowing me to compare where I am against my goal and also against the leaders within the Coupa customer community. And that ties back to the community intelligence that we were talking about earlier in the slideshow presentation. And if I'm not achieving that goal, I can even drill into that success metric and learn more about it and see Coupa's prescriptive recommendations as to how we can get to that goal. What are some of the other customers in the Coupa community doing to achieve their goals at this success metric? For example, I want to find out how my users are searching for goods and services. So I'll look into the search analytics. And right here, I can see exactly what people are searching for, and more importantly, what they're searching for but not finding. And that may be something that you would want to add to your catalogs and possibly to your contracts with your suppliers and vendors. So a lot of great prescriptive capability there, and that's what we call success metrics. We call it recommendations, but above all, these are our insights, prescriptive insights. And it could be filtered by industry as well, and by period, date range, and so on. Now, aside from that, we also have dashboards. And dashboards offer some cool KPIs tied to spend, such as purchase metrics, spend and savings over a time frame, as well as budgeting and accounting information. If I drill into purchase metrics specifically and move away from the main dashboard, here we can see what the spend looked like over the last 1 year, 2 years, and so on. How much of it was tied to actual procurement? How much was tied to expenses? Spend by commodity as well as supplier, and by type. How was the spend accomplished? Was it through catalogs and contracts? Was it free form, punched out, web forms? A lot of great visibility into that. And of course, other insight, such as supplier performance, visibility into how your top-rated suppliers are doing and the lowest-rated ones, what they're looking like, how they've been invoicing, and many, many other things that would take a little while for me to show you. And then finally, we have reports, standard types of web reports, if you will. And you can classify these, let's say by AP versus procurement. If I want to drill into procurement, these are all of my procurement reports where I could learn about how many items are still awaiting goods receipts, how many items are on buyer hold or requisitions without a contract. That would not apply to most of you guys possibly, but we have that capability. So let's go to AP as well. So here we can see AP reports and pending three-way matches again, maybe some accrual reports, all sorts of great stuff that are tied to aging. So we have the accrual report right here, and I can open that up. Now, all of these reports can be exported and scheduled and emailed to the appropriate person in the appropriate format. So we have that capability. And one thing I also want you to know, and we take a lot of pride in this as well, is that we offer these reports or views in every area of Coupa. So as we can see, if I drill into requests or even orders, we can see different views up at the top of the screen that your teams can manage. Again, your business teams, your users can manage. So if I just want to see all of the requisitions that are still pending receipt, Coupa is going to refilter the view to show me that. Possibly, I want to go into my sourcing events, and I just want to see a report tied to RFIs or contract savings or committed savings. We can do that. And I can also edit this view. Drag and drop the different columns. Again, all by myself. I can do that easily. So I'm going to go ahead and save this without any IT intervention. And then I guess I'll finish off just by saying that we have all of these different reporting capabilities again that are tied to success metrics and insights, dashboards, and reports. But within the reports area, if we go back to, let's say, purchase orders, I also want you to know, if I didn't mention it already, that you can create these reports out of the blue. So every user has that capability to create a report, name it, show who can see it, as well as all of the different conditions that can be assigned. And of course, those selected columns. So that's really what I wanted to show today from a very high level perspective, and really give you some insight into the breadth and scope of the value that Coupa provides, from a requisition all the way through purchase order to supplier management and participation, as well as sourcing and contracts. And there's many other things as well. And then I wanted to finish off with reports, but I'll open it up to you guys. I'll stop sharing and see if there's any other questions.
I have a question. So, Andy, during your presentation, I noticed a metric of 4 to 8 months, sort of a time frame to get a Coupa install up and running, which I think is phenomenal. Imagine there's potentially some folks in our audience that are just at the beginning of this journey towards eProcurement, and I'm curious, are there things that a procurement organization can do as they're vetting solutions, as they're preparing to buy, that would make a transition easier? Things that could potentially hold you up, that can be taken care of before the contract is signed?
Yeah, good question. So one of the things that we do just as a routine process is when we engage with people, even when they're in the very early stages, is we can perform a discovery. So what we do is we take a look at their operational environment to really understand how things are working today. What are the integration needs? What's the current ERP? A number of different things, even what are the reporting requirements. We take all that information together in like a discovery document, and then it allows us to be able to pull together an estimate of how long it would take and the level of effort to do an implementation. And at that point, we could identify areas that could be improved before the project would even start. So that's one of the things we highly recommend, and it's something that we do on a very routine basis with all of our prospective customers.
Excellent. Are there other questions that customers typically have, you know, when they're, I mean, what are some things they should look out for, especially in like the market research process, you know, that you commonly hear?
Well, I think for us, and Jonathan mentioned it in the presentation here, is one of the things that we really like to tout in terms of our ability to get to that point where we're up and operational quickly and our customers start achieving value is how rapidly we get the supplier community enabled for our customers. It's really one of our strengths. It's the way that we handle the process of getting those customers enabled, and the fact that we make it easier for those suppliers too. I know Jonathan touched base on some of the correspondence that goes back and forth between the buyer and the suppliers, but we essentially can provide a stream of communication that's most, let's say, the best fit for that customer to make sure that everything works smoothly for them. The other thing is we've got the community part of Coupa Intelligence. Coupa Advantage, where we have more than 4 million suppliers that are already under, I would say, an agreement with Coupa to provide discounts to the customer environment for us that use Coupa Advantage. We provide that at no charge to our customers.
One of the things I remember doing with our contract management systems in the government is having to add suppliers when there wasn't a record for them already, and that would take me all kinds of time and be a huge headache. Is it easy to add a supplier to Coupa's database if they don't exist already?
Yeah, Jonathan, my answer is going to be yes, but Jonathan, I'm going to let you give a little more detail on that.
Can you repeat that one more time, that question, please?
Yeah, so the question was...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I was just, my experience in contract management systems, adding suppliers was a bit of a headache. I was just curious if it's, how does Coupa make that easier for me?
Oh yeah, it's extremely easy within Coupa. There's quite a few ways to do that. You can set up, and if I share my screen one more time, I'm just going to do that. You can set up a supplier very easily just by going to, let me just move over to somebody else. And go right into the suppliers here and just add someone. And then from there, you can initiate the process of supplier information, possibly asking them if they want to go ahead and onboard to the Coupa Supplier Portal. So there's a few things you can do there, and then you can manage those suppliers right from here. So if we go back to that suppliers area, we can even search for any of the suppliers, and we've got all these icons that will allow you to edit them, send requests for information, we call that SIM, and then any requests for review. So we can set up not only the process of initiating a supplier creation, we could have web forms around that and make sure that they go for approval to the right internal people, and then we push it out to the supplier for them to fill in information, possibly go online to our Coupa Supplier Portal, and then over time, they can fill out more information and recreate their profile and do all sorts of great things.
Excellent. That's great. We have a question from Elizabeth in the audience. She'd like to know how many government agencies are currently using Coupa.
Yeah, good question. So we are relatively new to the public sector marketplace. We do have one current federal customer. We had 3 pilots that are no longer in operation within the Department of Homeland Security. We have a number of state and local entities that utilize Coupa. I don't know the latest count, but we have, for instance, in the county government in the county of San Mateo, their library system uses Coupa. We have a number of other teachers organizations that utilize Coupa. And then we also factor in higher education and healthcare and public sector too. And, a vast number of those, dozens of healthcare and higher education customers too. I'm not sure the exact count, but it is growing as we speak.
Same types of challenges in those industries for sure. So a good benchmark. And Elizabeth, an opportunity to potentially be a trailblazer out there. at least at your agency. We're not getting any more questions coming in. Andy and Jonathan, I just really want to thank you for your time and your attention here and providing us with this great demonstration of Coupa. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure our audience did as well. And if you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share, please do. Otherwise, we can give folks a few minutes back in their day.
Yeah, this is Andy. And one, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and being part of the presentation and demonstration today. I think that, Frank, you are providing our contact information to the attendees, correct? The email addresses?
Yes.
Okay, so just an
Yes.
offer that if you have any follow-up questions or would like any additional information about Coupa or the software solution, feel free to reach out directly to me. We'd be glad to follow up. And if you would like even a more detailed presentation, we'd love to be able to participate and help you there too. But more importantly, thank you for your time. Really do appreciate your attendance today.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to sign off here, and thanks to everyone again. Like Andy said, we will be sending out an email to all of our attendees with some information that will allow you to get in touch with our guests today and get any other questions you have answered. So have a great afternoon and the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.